Hello, CherieHanson here. I've just come off of a 3-day whatever that was. Um, it was a feeling as if I was being hit by electricity. I had a couple of nights of insomnia, um, and then I woke up with a migraine, upset stomach, pain all over my body. And always, like the maraschino cherry on the top of the poop sundae, was the possibility reaching out to me of despairing of my situation. I have enough practice of being on the earth. I have enough wisdom from following the path of mindfulness to know that I didn't need to put the cherry on the top of the poop sundae, that it was in and of itself enough. So the questions that came to my mind were, why are you feeling like this? Is there something you're not paying attention to in your life? Is there some aspect of yourself that you're not loving and protecting and blessing? Because that's the way my mind always goes, is inward, inside. And so I knew that I had to allow the despair. I had to allow the sense of being lost. I had to allow the sound of my ego telling me that I hadn't gotten anywhere. Because that's always the goal of our lives, is to get somewhere. It doesn't matter where it is, just so we feel like there's progress. And I was wise enough to be able to let that go. What came to me today when I was doing meditation was the idea of being triggered. I think it's interesting that we look at the state of being triggered as always negative. Think about that for a minute. I was triggered into anger. I was triggered into despair. I was triggered into feeling abandoned. I was triggered into opposition, fighting for my view of the universe. But I thought there is another part of being triggered as well that we don't really have in our lexicon. We don't really have in the spiritual conversation. And that is being triggered into joy, being triggered into a state of acceptance, being triggered into ease, being triggered into peace. Why is it always negative? I ask my own self. And furthermore, she says, always being the school marm, can you hear the pointer hitting against the slate blackboard when I say that? And furthermore, look here. There is a positive side to being triggered negatively. And that is, if we're not having a great rush of anger or grief or despair or animosity, we're not healing our wound. Our wound needs to be looked at. It needs to be healed. It needs to be cared for. Your owie, wherever it is, whether it's on your knee, your elbow, or your soul, needs to be kissed better. Somebody love me and kiss my owie better. And So if we can look at it that way, we start to understand that every triggered situation is a chance for us to grow, is a chance for us to see more clearly what our wounding has done to us. I was sitting with a friend the other day, and she was very angry about a situation, and it involved attacking people who were attacking people. And as I sat there, what I could feel inside me was being triggered. I had this urge to defend something, to change her mind, to make it stop. And I realized that the futility of that, of trying to get myself out of fear or anxiety or a state of being triggered, is not anybody else's job. It's not their job. And so I ask myself, why are you triggered by this? And what I keep coming back to is, if somebody is raging and is angry and is on a rant, I go back to childhood and I assume the next thing that's going to happen is I'm going to get a broken nose again, or I will be hurt again. It is hurting me to hear people say angry things about other people. Now, whose job is it to deal with that? You can't call 911. There's no ambulance full of workers that will show up and just remove the fear, the trigger, the sword in your back, the arrow through your heart. There's nobody that can do that in the outside world. So once again, we are left alone with ourselves. Who is going to supply the love, the calming down, the confidence in the process of growth outside of you? Nobody. You are the one that is responsible for that. So as I was looking at this, I was ruminating, as I do. Something happens, I walk around it 3 times. Like, what does it look like from this angle? What does it look like from this angle? What is it over here? And try to get as much information out of that interaction or situation as I can, because I am always focused on growing my spirit. That is the center of my life. That is the tent pole holding up my giant protective canvas tent. And so I could see different ways of dealing with that. I could see speaking out and saying, when you talk like that, it upsets me. But the problem with that is I'm now turning over my protection of my spirit and my mood to someone else. I am all right as long as you don't do the wrong thing. Wrong for me, for my wounded child. Not, there's no law against raging and being angry at somebody. So it took me down to the understanding that in all situations, in all triggered situations, I am responsible for how I respond. And when I choose, as I just did, to go sit in the sun and eat my 3 hard-boiled eggs, it triggered joy in me. I triggered that. I put myself in that emotional space on purpose. Now, the next step is, how do I set up a process for dealing with my fear damaged perception of how someone else having an angry reaction is a threat to me? It isn't actually, because I know how to take care of myself. I know how to show love to myself. And I can't expect everyone else in the world to conduct themselves in a way that doesn't trigger me. And the second step of this, let's just go up in the balcony a little higher so we can look down at the whole play with more perception and more depth. When something like that happens, I realize that I have not yet been able to put myself in a place where I feel safe no matter what is going on around me. I've still got chinks in my armor. I've still got gaps in my sense of protection from what is happening in the world. And so that leads me to ask the question, how can I move in closer to myself, give myself more love, more self-assurance, so I'm not becoming a child because someone else is raging? It's up to me. And also be very aware of the fact that I can trigger happiness and peace and contentment if I make the right choices. Stop what you're doing. Go sit out on the deck. Sit in the sun. Feel the sun on you. Watch the birds and the butterflies fly around. Look at the new flowers that have blossomed. And now you have triggered a sense of joy. So that's what came to me today. I wanted to talk about the positive and negative aspects of triggering, and the weird thing is the negative aspects are actually positive aspects because you're learning more about yourself. Thank you so much for your kind responses on this YouTube channel. Thank you so much to people who are subscribing. I really have a desire to short circuit the journey to mindfulness, to help others get there faster by observing what a knucklehead I can be at times. And I have to share with you my new earrings. I love them. I love them. They are hearts, which are roses. And that is a gift I gave myself for my 80th birthday, which is coming up on the 20th. I made it to 80. I went through all of the waterfalls and the rocks and the turbulence and the whirlwinds and the tornadoes. Every single opportunity I had to be swept off of the earth, I ended up not allowing it to happen. Oh my God. And I got here in this place where I can start looking ahead with greater confidence in who I am becoming. If you would like a channeled reading, if you would like a life coaching session, get a hold of me. The people I am working with are just doing beautifully, and it is so exciting to me to see that. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate you.